such a trooper. She's joining us for a little bit.
Recording in progress.
Thank you. Greetings, everyone. I'm Tanya Morrow, Chair of the RVTD Board, and I will call our regular January 22nd, 2025 board meeting to order with a roll call, please.
Denise Kraus. Here. Bill Mansfield.
Here.
Tanya Morrow.
Here.
Don Stone.
Here.
Jenna Marmon.
Here.
Dan Davis and Carl McNair.
Here.
There's the quorum.
Thank you. All right, we've got a short agenda, but thank you, everybody, for convening tonight. We'll start with the board meeting minutes, and if there's no objection, I would like to table the approval of the minutes until the next meeting. I recall that I engaged in a bit of a hard conversation last time, and the minutes don't necessarily reflect some of that. So without asking Lou to have to go listen to that all again, if you just want to send it to me, I can just add a few things to the minutes. So if there's no objection to that, let's table them and we'll come back and approve them next month. Is that okay? All right.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Did everybody receive the November, December monthly financial reports?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Let the record reflect they've been received. All right. Now we get to hear from Paige, I'm assuming, regarding our 50th anniversary. What do you have planned?
Yes, thank you, Chair Mora. Good evening, everyone. Glad to see everyone last week, and it was a wild ride getting back here, but I'm here safe and glad that we can present this to you tonight. We have a very special year in 2025. It is our 50th anniversary. We've, of course, been planning for it for the last several months, wanting to be able to kick off with a good start and have several activities planned for the entire year. And we thought we would give you an overview of what those activities are. And you've actually seen a couple of the items, the branding in particular, at the ribbon cutting that you attended on Friday. So we were very pleased that we were able to have a bus wrapped with the campaign theme and a couple of other items available for giveaways. So I'll go ahead and start my presentation so you can see some of the other fun things we've got going on. Okay, so hold on, let me move you this. Over. Sorry, I'm having problems with my mouse. Oh, it's not working. Can you see the entire screen? It's hard for me to tell if you're also seeing the gallery.
As well. We see the slide in the side as well. But yeah, we do see it.
We can see the thumbnails on the side page. But
That's what I thought. Oh, there we go. Now it finally moved. Okay. Now you should not be able to see the gallery anymore.
No, we can still see the thumbnails.
Oh,
We still
weird.
do, and it's not going into the slide presentation page, so. So I'm not sure
Escape that.
if the
And
public is seeing it. Okay.
well,
You can't go up to slide. There you go. From beginning.
Yeah, and it pops up
Well,
a different screen. It's really frustrating. Sorry.
it's okay.
What
Right.
happens if you hit that present in Teams button?
We're in Zoom land, so it really doesn't do anything.
That won't help then.
So now there you go. All right. Well, just go to the first one and you'll have to scroll down, I think.
Just stop the share and see if I can start this over again.
Well, it says you're sharing, so we might make it. There we go. Yay.
Okay. There's some good stuff on here that's visual, so I didn't want it to be crowded with all the other remote gallery. Okay. So we have 2025 coming upon us, and we are looking at some of the things we've done in the past. You can see we have images here that are quite dated. They're from the 80s, 1980s, and RVTD's older diesel buses are what you're seeing here. We will be featuring some of these historical photos throughout the year, but this is just sort of a snapshot to give you an idea of where we've been in the past. And we've done a fairly good job, I think, the staff in our history of keeping some of our keeping some photos. I mean, they were like actual photos from a camera that had to be digitized, but we've tried to do our best with providing some of those in a digital image format for the future. Now, this is our branding. You can see it's in several different formats, but it all is centered around that same theme. We are using our logos, branded colors, that gold, teal, white, and black in a variety of different ways. Depending on the publication or the advertisement or the email, banner, bus wrap, we will be using these in a variety of ways. And this isn't the only set. We have about, I would say, 25 different versions of this logo that we can use for the appropriate setting, depending on what we're going to be doing. You might have seen the challenge coin that we are going to be distributing to important people that are significant to RVTD. That is the logo that's on the right-hand side is what you can see on one of the challenge coins. And then there's also our mountain on the other side. But this will be on several different media for our 50th anniversary. And kudos to Paper and String. They're our marketing firm who created this, and it was hand-drawn, actually. Stefan, the designer within Paper and String, he drew this by hand. So we're really grateful for their work in innovation. Many of you saw this bus on Friday. This is going to be one of 3 buses that we're wrapping. We wish we could wrap the entire fleet, believe me, but a lot of our buses have paid advertising on them. So we have to, of course, exclude those buses that have the paid advertising that are under contract from being wrapped. But we do have 3 buses that are going to be wrapped. This is the first one. We have another one that's being wrapped this week in blue, and then we have a third one that will be wrapped later this month in a different color. We're looking at that color right now, but it's a beautiful design. I hope that you are all able to walk around the bus and see the full wrap. So the schedule of events, it's still really in the making. We have a basic idea of what we're going to be doing, and we have some events that will become more solidified as we get closer to them. But May is a big month for RVTD. So May was when the district was established in 1975. May 6th is the official anniversary of the district's formation. That was when the community voted us in May 6th of 1975. And then hot on the heels of that, the board, the board at that time, who were also on the ballot, it was a formation measure and voting in the board of directors on that same ballot. Those board members who were voted in on the 6th had their very first meeting on May 14th, 1975. And so we would like to host a commemorative board meeting in that honor on May 14th of this upcoming year. It happens to be a Wednesday. It's the second Wednesday of May. We don't need to have an official meeting, with an agenda and business items. We can if we need to, but we're more wanting to celebrate that and make it something special for our current board of directors and the staff. So please put that on your calendars, May 14th of this year. And then we have annual events, as you know, that we do every year. May is Bike Month is one of those. And then we also have a Car Free Challenge. It's been known as the Get There Challenge in the past. It's something that we partner with the state of Oregon on, and all the transit agencies across the state participate in. So that is in September. And those are typically a week to 2 weeks long, where we have several events throughout the event theme, but we will be incorporating the 50th anniversary during those annual events that we do. We also have free fair days that we typically do during those event times during the May and the September. We are thinking about maybe offering additional free fair days during the year, but that's still something we need to discuss with you and also identify good days to do that, to make it fun for the community. We usually host trivia days during those annual events, but we are looking at doing something that's more specific to RVTD's history and see what transit buffs out there are in our community and have been following RVTD. And of course, we'll have prizes available, and hope to do more than one of those during the year, because I'm sure there's a lot of questions we can ask. We could take up multiple evenings or afternoons with that. And then we also want to do an event where we thank all of our employees, but not just the current employees that have retired from RVTD, employees that have given their service to the district over the years that are still in our community, or maybe they'll even travel back here for that. So that's like I said, still to be determined. We haven't quite figured out what day that's going to be, but we certainly want to appreciate both the electeds and the people who have participated on our board, but also employees that have given their service to the district. And this picture on the left is from Friday. This is our banner, one of 2 banners that we have that we'll be using at all of our events throughout the year. Okay, moving on. We also traditionally do publications. We have a community benefits report. This is what you can see right now on the screen. It's a draft, the 2024 community benefits report. It's really a publication that we only do every 2 to 3 years. It's sort of the state of the district type of publication. And we will be using it as part of our legislative work at the Capitol, and also providing it to city councils and the commissions across our valley. But this is going to, of course, highlight the fact that this is our 50th anniversary. And we have several articles that are within this report that discuss RVTD's history. We also have e-newsletters. If you're not subscribed to our e-newsletters and you're interested, just reach out to us. You can do it on our website. You can click on a subscribe button on the Contact Us page of our website. But also you can just reach out to any of our staff and we'll make sure that you get subscribed to that. I'm not sure how many thousands of people are now following that e-newsletter, but we tend to send it out a few times a year with some substantial news that is happening for RVTD. And this, of course, it qualifies for that. So we'll be sending out e-newsletters throughout the year. And then we also have 2 newsletters that we mail out to 90,000 households throughout the district. And that traditionally is something that we do in advance of those annual May is Bike Month and then the September Challenge. And so we'll be doing that this year and also highlighting our anniversary. In addition to those types of publications, we also, of course, are going to be doing commercials. We have had several themes over the past several years of, go by bus and, way to go. This year, we are going to be taking what would have traditionally been like the TV advertising and the radio advertising and the display ads for one of those themes and just wrapping it up into a 50th anniversary campaign. So we're not paying for additional commercials or additional display ads. We're just going to be highlighting the 50 years and as part of our already paid for advertising, which we sometimes pay for a year in advance. We also are going to have bus decals on our buses. Although we can't wrap all of the buses, we can put a bus decal that says 50th, celebrating 50 years on our buses and also the Valley Lift vehicles. And so we'll be working on that next. They'll probably be up on all the vehicles by the end of February. We'll be changing our website to highlight our 50 years and also have a neat timeline. If you go to our website, you'll be able to go into a part of our website where you can interact with our timeline over the 50 years and see some of those, pictures and possibly even, newspaper articles and things that just don't quite fit into those other publications. And then we'll have press releases throughout the year for any of our substantial events. We do have a soft agreement with Rogue Valley Times that they will be covering us as often as possible for our events, but also if there's something that's kind of fun and newsworthy but isn't associated with an event, we'll reach out to them and have them try to cover that story for us. We have window decals that we'll put on all of our buildings, and we'll do some bus shelter wraps. We've done this a couple of times. We did one for the Ashland Connector down in Ashland, and it worked out really well. You could see through the wrap, so you didn't feel like you were enclosed in the shelter and couldn't see anything. And so it had that light transparency come through, but it was very visible. We did it at the plaza in Ashland, and it was very visible. So we'll be looking at doing these shelter wraps on some of our key locations where we have bus shelters, because that's a really prominent public facing RVTD asset that's throughout the entire system. So we think that'll be pretty neat. We also have areas inside of our bus where we can do advertising. And then the head signs, which is basically that reader board that's on the very top of the bus. If you're facing the bus from the outside, that's what we call our head sign. And that is going to also feature some mottos. They have to be short, but it'll be some things that we'll be able to present in that as well. So it wouldn't be an anniversary without some kind of commemoration. And we are going to have some items that we'll be giving to our employees, but also to the public. The first that you may have seen is the challenge coins. Those are in Julie's possession. So those are very special, and she's choosing who and when to give those out.
And they each received theirs tonight, so.
Okay, good. I was wondering, yeah. Lapel pins that will have most likely something that we'll give out to just our staff and our board and others, but that's not a public like giveaway at an event because they'll be very nice and we can put them on our uniforms. We will be adding patches to our driver uniforms, probably on their right shoulder. So as passengers board the bus, they can see that patch. You can see all of this is about branding and campaigning. It's very it's really important to give even the lightest touch up to the, biggest marketing thing so that you have that very prominent in everything that we're doing. And so patches on the driver's uniforms that people will see, hats, T-shirts for the public. This will be just a basic T-shirt. We sometimes give away T-shirts that are branded with the like Go by Bike Week, but we'll do one that is specific for our 50th anniversary. For our employees, especially the ones who are staffing the events, Adam and Mike Bowman and Mike Vergeer, Sean sometimes, and other employees who are staffing the events, dozens of events, they're going to have a special polo shirt and other uniforms so that they can be branded. And then water bottles and, probably some other little things. We usually buy reflectors and we'll be giving those out to the public. So we're hoping to be able to purchase all of these in the next couple of months so that we can get ready for May. And that concludes my presentation. It's, we're still developing everything that we're going to be doing over the year. And certainly would offer, if you have input, if you have ideas, let me know, because we want to make this a big celebration for the whole community. So reach out to me or Julie if you have some ideas on things that you think might be neat to do for the celebration.
Thanks, Paige. Bill's got something he'd like to comment on or ask about. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, am I on?
Yeah.
Yes. Paige, I have some ideas about the celebration in addition to the things that you're talking about. I happen to know that at least one person that was, I believe, was on the board at the time it was formed, Sue Densmore. Sue was at our ribbon cutting the other day, and I insisted that she be brought up to be part of the cutting. I think it would be very nice to feature her perhaps at the commemorative meeting. I believe one other lady was I can't remember her name, but if you contact Sue, I believe Sue would give you her name. I believe that she's still alive. Those are the only people that I know. I was not on the formative board. I was not on the board until a couple of years later when we purchased a couple of rickety old buses.
Okay.
So I should not be featured, but I think that Sue and this other lady should be featured.
Great idea. Very great idea.
And I will be very disappointed if we don't.
Okay.
We won't disappoint.
We don't want
We
that.
won't disappoint
Okay.
you.
I have one thing I'd like to, I don't think we always go in the Pear Blossom Parade, right? So I think that would be a worthwhile effort if we could put it together this year. You know how we did that the one year last time we went out for the levy and stuff. So I would encourage that as well.
Okay.
Yes, that is actually something that we're looking at doing, an entry in the parade. And I am so excited because Art and Bloom is coming back.
Oh, good. Yes.
Yeah.
That's always a good place to table. Yep.
Yes, we have a very good presence at Art and Bloom before they stopped having it because of COVID, but now they're coming back this year. And we have a static bus display and we do some other fun things around the bus. But yes, we are trying to also participate in those larger, like Earth Day, down in Ashland. We'll definitely be at those.
The 4th of July parade is pretty good in Ashland too. Pretty big, well attended.
Yeah, there's a lot of tabling going on afterwards. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's something we've always wanted to do, my department, but because it's a union holiday, it's
Oh,
been
yeah.
very difficult to get a driver or someone to volunteer essentially to be part of that, but we can give it a try, right, Julie?
They won't volunteer though, but that's all right. We can pay them. So
The other thing that's usually on the tabling gamut, I don't think we do, is the Harvest Fest and Talent. So give that some thought, and then
We
of
do
course-
that one. We've
Yeah,
got
okay, good.
very good response from that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I think there's lots of events that we'll be able to tap into and, I was just looking at that picture of the GMC buses. And when I started as general manager, that last bus went away. Like I remember the day watching it drive down the road, we were all out there waving goodbye. And, now I'm like, dang, we should have kept one of those. It would have been kind of neat, but that's all right. FTA wouldn't let us keep a bus that old. But anyway, it's kind of amazing. And I think I said this during the ribbon cutting. And it's really hard to believe how far we've come, and how this district has grown over the years. And you don't always realize it because you get so caught up in the daily, things that are happening here at the district. But when we started pulling out pictures and looking at the history, it was like, wow, we've done a lot. And this community has been supportive of us. I think the support has grown over the years and people are starting to see the value of it again. But back in the 70s when it was first formed, and just looking, I was reading an article today, the first day of service, I think there was 500 people that rode, I think was the number. And it's like, wow, that was a lot of people back in the 70s. So, we're getting there. We're on our way back.
All right, any other thoughts, comments, questions for Paige? Thank you, Paige.
All right, thank you.
All right, we don't have any public hearings. And so we will talk about our public meetings law training. Go ahead.
Okay.
Do we not fulfill our requirement?
So here, I need to talk to you about this because I know that Carl jumped on the SDAO training. I believe that Bill also took a public meetings training through the COG, through the Council of Governments. I last week attended a training through the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. And so they came in and they did a training with all the commission. And I asked them specifically that the training from SDAO or from the Council of Governments, is it certified? Because they're saying you have to have a certified training. And they told me no, hasn't been approved yet. They haven't gotten their curriculum approved. So bummer, Carl and Bill.
I did it too.
And you did too?
Yes.
So we've got a problem.
Yeah.
So the question I have for the board is, there's two things we can do. I have a list here and I can pass it out of webinars that are available where you can go on and get on one of these webinars, participate virtually with them, and they will send you a certificate. Or they would be willing to do like a virtual meeting with us, with our board, and get the certification done. And we could also invite other agencies, but that's another option. So I'll pass this down.
What's our timeline? Do we have a deadline to
So,
get this done?
Here's the thing is, the law was enacted over a year ago.
Yeah.
And so they're just trying to get everybody up to date on it. I thought I had a couple thoughts. One, maybe we should wait till the new elected board of directors, if anybody doesn't run and we have a new seat, but they really need to cover you. And here's why we need to be certified. If something comes up where we're challenged on breaking the law, they will look to see that we took the training and protect us to a certain extent, unless we really broke the law. And then they're going to talk to us. But the fines are now individual. So for each board member, you can be fined up to $1,000 for something that you've done. And what they're saying is they believe that if we take the training and we really understand what we shouldn't be doing, you won't have to worry about it. Now, I can tell you from the commission's point of view, from the Oregon Transportation Commission, we found some things we were doing wrong that we had to correct. And we were very clear with them. We asked them the questions like, what about this? And I'll give you an example. The chair would call commission members and ask them if there was anything they needed to get on the agenda. And ask them if they'd reviewed the draft agenda and if there was any concerns. Can't do that. I can't ask them their opinion on anything.
Really?
I can ask them if they would like to add something to the agenda, but I can't have a conversation with them because it's like a board member meeting and talking about an issue. We have to be very careful. We also used to do things like two two board members or two commission members would meet with the staff and they would go over all the different things that were on the agenda, especially things that we had to make a decision about. They no longer can do that. They no longer can do our pre-meeting. We had an 8 o'clock meeting before our commission meeting to ask if there was any questions about anything that was on the agenda. We no longer can do it. So what they're really looking for with this new law is to really help board members and commission members understand that each one of you is an individual and you should be making your own individual decision. It shouldn't be a group decision until you're in a public meeting and you're discussing it. And then you can make your decision as a group. So they're really cracking down on this. And I think that for your sake, having you jump on these meetings and attend one of these webinars, and Bill, we can set it up here for you to do that, or we can do a group. So I'm just looking at what is the pleasure of the board and what they'd like to do.
So when you were saying that they would cover us, are you talking about SDAO? In other words, they.
Well,
indemnify us or-
SDAO is our insurance holder,
Oh, okay.
but they would say, look, they attended the training, they understood this. They said that they would look to more forgiveness than if you didn't take it at all. Like if it was a misunderstanding of something that they taught you and it wasn't really clear. It doesn't mean that they're going to cover you,
Right,
not
'cause
fine you.
I think
but
the law prohibits indemnification. We have to pay.
We
So,
do.
Yeah, okay.
But they said that they would take in the investigation part of it, they would help us understand. And so they would most take a pause back on fining.
Okay.
And one of the things that they said was they don't want to start fining everybody. That is not what they were trying to do. Unless somebody's blatantly breaking the law over and over and refuses to change the way that they're doing it. So the first time we do something wrong, and we talked about our commission, if we did something like this, they said they would sit down with us and remind us of our training and talk to us. But if you ignore the certification completely and not do it, then it's not going to go favorably for you. So that was like, if you blatantly push back as a board member or a commission member, say, I'm not going to attend this, I'm not going to certify it, then it's not going to go well. And I don't know about how, I have to go back and look at the law if they can remove you from your commission seat or not. I don't know.
It's a weird one because you are elected.
I don't think they
I
can.
don't think so either.
Yeah, I don't think so. You guys are elected, but we're appointed.
Oh, yeah.
So it might be a little different.
So I don't have any druthers. I mean, I did it online. It's too bad they can't get their curriculum certified sooner than later. It seems like they should do that, but.
Well, and I said to them, what about SDAO? They're having their annual meeting next week. I think it's next week, the week after that. And so in order to make it certified, the Oregon Ethics Commission is actually attending the SDAO conference and doing one
Oh,
there. So if you want to go to SDAO, we can always, it's in Bend. We can always get you registered and you can go to Bend and go to the entire conference. But this is probably the easiest way to do it, is go through a webinar if you don't want to do it as a group and worry about it setting up a time to do that. This gives you a little bit more freedom because you can pick your day and time.
okay, what's the pleasure? Go ahead, Paul.
Well, I have to do this for my work as well. So I'm assuming I can get double duty from one training for both. So I will be doing it on my own.
Okay, so once you get the
Join us at a party,
certificate,
huh?
Yeah,
Do it
so Carl, once you get the certificate, it's good,
Yeah.
period.
yeah.
Bill.
Okay.
Babe.
I'm a little surprised that I can't contact the staff and suggest some things to be put on the agenda.
You can contact the staff.
Uh-huh.
You just can't contact another board member.
Oh, well, that's no problem with that. But I also want to repeat, this is an issue we had a couple of years ago. As a board member, I have a right to bring up anything that relates to the district, whether it's on the agenda or not. I am not limited to what staff or the chair decides to put on the agenda. I hope that's clear to all the board members.
Yeah, no, in the meeting, that would fall under your agenda
Yeah.
of adding it to the agenda. So they're not saying any of that. What they're saying is there's been a lot of jurisdictions and districts that have had decision-making happening on the telephone, happening through email, happening through other sources, going to coffee shops, sitting down and sitting together, having quorums, making decisions, and then coming back to the board meeting and blowing up the board meeting with their decision, and the rest of the board saying, wait a minute, when was that decision made and how did you make it?
I think it's wrong for board members to discuss any kind of matters on the merits other than in the board meetings. Even if it doesn't violate the law, it violates the spirit. So I should not be talking with another board member about matters other than the mechanical matters of when we meet and things like that. I should not be discussing any board issues on the merits except in debating them in a board meeting, of course. Well, I know that's violated a lot, but I think all of us owe it to the spirit of the law to not be discussing matters, the merits of any issues other than during board meetings.
Yeah, well, I have to agree with you that I don't think the law quite goes there.
I agree the law doesn't prohibit it, but
Right.
but
I
my
understand.
sense of conscience prohibits it.
Absolutely. Got that. And I guess I'm curious to really find out whether if Bill wanted something on the agenda, obviously this, I don't set the agenda, you guys do. We've worked that out. That's okay. But if so, if I was setting the agenda, that a board member couldn't simply call and ask me to put something on the agenda and then I contact staff. But we'll see. We'll get into the training and see, because that just seems like a real incredible limitation on.
Once again, I'm not limited to those things that are on the agenda. I can bring up any subject that relates to the district, any district business I want, whether it's on the agenda or not. In other words, I'm not limited to whomever decides what's going to be the subject for the meeting.
I understand that, but we have had a situation where, staff wanted to do something that wasn't on the agenda, and there are some considerations about public notice that we can decide to defer so that there is some public notice in the next time. So-
I'm not contesting that
Okay,
one.
cool.
Yeah, and they'll also go over executive sessions. They'll talk to us what you can and can't have on the agenda, and or what you can do in an executive session. A couple things have changed, which I was kind of shocked. I had no idea. One of them was you cannot, in an executive session, when you are meeting with, let's say, your general manager, you cannot talk salary, which I was just absolutely shocked. It has to be out and open now. It's part of the law. And so there's some things that have changed, and I think they've changed because of behavior that's happened in our state over the years, where people feel like there isn't transparency. So again, I think that it's really important that you do attend this and figure out what it is they say. You can always challenge what they say, and we challenged some of it and asked questions, and they were just really good about being very open and telling you where. Or if they didn't have the answer for it, they said they would get back to you. And so
Has the law itself been modified? Is that?
I believe so, yes.
Perhaps staff could produce a copy of the modification bill for us at the next meeting so that we
Sure.
can review the changes.
Okay.
So, rest of board, would you like to provide yourself an extra incentive to getting this done by having us all get together sometime? Or do you want to just do it on your own? And if we fail to do that by March, we schedule something together. What do you think? How do you feel about it, Don?
Being together seems to get it done.
Okay, you like that extra
Yeah,
incentive?
I
Okay.
have been because of health issues. I knew that it was going to be required, but I didn't do anything about it.
Okay, I know. You've had some challenges lately, so we're glad to see you, by the way. Good to see you.
And a lot of people haven't done anything about it. They're just really trying to roll this out. And it shows because in January and February, every single one of their webinars was booked out. Like they had so many participants. So this is something that all committees, you're seeing that, you know, the elected officials, county commissioners, everybody is trying to get this done. So we just need to make sure we do it to protect you.
Well, my preference is to do it on my own.
Okay, that's fine. Bill, did you say you had a preference one way or the other? Were you going to do it on your own, or would you rather?
I've already done it, so I don't need to even attend.
Well, I think you have to attend this one, though.
I don't think so. I attended an official certified
Okay,
one
I
a
will,
month or two ago.
I will check with them, but according to them, it wasn't certified. So I will actually send an email to them.
The Rivcock meeting, well, why were we wasting our time then?
Exactly. But see, what happened, I think, is a lot of agencies decided because the Oregon Ethics hadn't come out with their training, they were afraid and they went ahead and put together their own. And then it wasn't what they say is certified by law. So let me check into it and I'll get back to you. And if not, we can always set up a time for you to come in here and do the webinar if you want.
If not, I'll attend. I don't intend to attend electronically, but I will attend whatever meeting is held.
Okay.
Well, let me make a suggestion. After you find out, there is a March 26th, 1 to 3:30 slot, which that's our day for meeting. So we would be meeting just a couple hours after that. I don't know, maybe we could fill in time.
Earlier board meeting, maybe?
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think that's a good idea.
I'm fine for
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, in the meantime, if somebody wants to go do it on their own, that's
Is
fine
that our
too.
board meeting day, March 26th?
Yeah, it's-
Let me make sure.
March 26th.
That's what I've got on my calendar.
Yep,
It is.
it is. So what we could do is, I can try and get everyone registered for that webinar and go in and register everybody.
Okay.
And we would just have it here. And then right after that, we could go into the board meeting.
Right, and I don't want to discourage anybody from doing it on their own, and we'll let you know if we end up doing it on our own in February or something, but, and then you can, I guess, maybe withdraw registration, but let's.
Well, and it looks like February is all full except for one, the 11th.
11th, yeah, that's
So,
true. Okay, well, there's a couple few early in March too, but,
yeah, there's some in March, but I'll try to get everybody in on the March 26th.
and then maybe we start at 4:30, the meeting? Okay,
Great.
You don't have to register me. I'm already registered for one.
Okay.
I believe it's tomorrow, actually. So,
Lucky you.
yeah, should be fun.
Enjoy.
all right, any other thoughts, comments on that? All right, we move on to reports from staff.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
I don't really have a lot to report out other than we did our ribbon cutting. Things are with the new administration at the federal level, things are kind of in limbo right now. There were a lot of executive orders that will change transit funding, not necessarily our operating, but if we had grants, we're really, really lucky because there's only one grant that I'm worried about, and that's our electric Valley lift fans. So it's a wait and see kind of situation because those funds right now are on hold. And we'll see. I've been trying to track down everything. We also have a congressional spending earmark that was for the infrastructure of electrification. That may be on hold too. That hasn't actually been voted on and approved yet. It's been sitting and we've been waiting. So there's a couple things that, again, we're waiting to see, but it really doesn't impact our operations. It doesn't impact RVT in any other way that we may have to stop and really look again at what we're doing and reapply for some other funding for the Valley Lift fans and something different. So those are the two things that I'm concerned about at this point. On the state level, as far as the transportation infrastructure, no, I shouldn't say transportation infrastructure, transportation bill, things are moving forward really fast. And right now, the Joint Transportation Committee is looking at bills. There were a couple bills that one was to, that was identified was to get rid of the STIF statewide. So all STIF funds would no longer be available for transit. And that bill, I believe, will die in committee. There was another bill also that was introduced that is, they haven't actually been introduced. They were dropped for consideration. And that is to change the way that qualified entities are established. And in our case, if there's a transit district in a county, the transit district is the one that received the funds. There was an introduction to actually give the money to the county, and then it could be passed on to the transportation district. So that one, I also believe, will die in committee. But there's also changes that we're already looking at the QE infrastructure to help solve the problems. And both of these things came out of Clackamas County. They came out of Clackamas County because they don't like the structure of being under TriMet. So we have 3 counties that are under TriMet, which is the largest transit agency. They don't like it. They want to be able to do some of their own things, and they don't like to have to go through the process of having TriMet approve it. So more to come. But last night, the truckers were talking about the clean energy bill and what they have to do for the trucking industry. I will be meeting tomorrow night with the truckers to talk about what their thoughts are and asking for support of transit in the transportation bill. It's interesting times. I mean, it's just moving so fast that I'm like, every day I think I have a handle on what's happening, and then something else pops in. And that's the way it's going to be for the next month. The final bill, transportation bill, has to be dropped in March. So but this next month is going to be fast and furious as we try to move forward. But right now, the Oregon Transit Association has put forward a increase in the STIF of 0.1% every biennium for, I believe it's 5 bienniums. And so if that happens, RVTD will be sitting in a place where we really will be able to provide all of the services that we talk about in our master plan, the Sunday service, all those things.
Kidding? Oh my gosh.
I'm not kidding.
What would the number look like for us annually?
Well, it'll increase.
Yeah, I know, but just the
But for,
first year, you
so the first year would be double what we get now, which
Okay.
would be
8.
about $6 million,
6 to 8.
almost $7 million.
Okay.
Maybe not quite enough to do it then, maybe. But we have a lot of things that we have that are prioritized, and then we'll move forward as we go. I mean, in the end, I truly believe that everything that our community has asked us for, we'll be able to actually provide.
That would be exciting. See if we can get it through. When is there going to be a transportation legislative day? Do you know?
Yes. I do know that, and for
Okay.
some reason, it's slipping my mind.
Well, it's
I'll have to find out, but I believe it's in April.
Good.
Let me look at my calendar while you guys are doing your other reports, and then
Are
I'll
you
be able
done
to report.
otherwise?
Otherwise, I believe I'm done.
Wow. And no other reports from staff? Okay, did RV Cog meet? They did, didn't they, Bill?
RVCOG, yes. Had the meeting today as usual, and the main event, in my view, was a discussion by staff about House Bill 3395, which came out from the legislature. I don't remember those numbers either, but that's the one that, in which the governor was pushing for more housing. So the subject was housing. There was all kinds of discussion about it. And the staff mainly told us what it was about and all the efforts that are being made by the legislature to push us localities into increasing housing. So I won't go through all the details. I will say that as a personal note, we're all for housing, of course. Everybody agrees that we're short on housing. But when we need more housing, there is always a push to reduce the safety features of the building code and to talk cities into selling water outside of the city limits, which is always a bad idea. And also to reduce or eliminate systems development charges. So I pointed out that those are not easy answers, but they're not as easy as it's not a free lunch to do those kinds of things, even though we all know that we need more housing. That completes my report.
Thank you. Thank you. Before, I just realized I did skip over our general comments and questions from the board. Does anybody have any general comments or questions?
I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead, Don.
Yeah, I think it was a couple, 3 weeks ago, there was a fire up in I'm losing a word. A fire that was involved with with one of the electric
Oh,
buses.
Grants passed, yeah.
Yeah.
Grants Pass, thank you.
Josephine County.
The bus was destroyed and the terminal facility was, if not totally destroyed, partially. And I'm concerned, since we're considering the possible evolvement into electric buses, whether or not this has, whether the report on this has been taken into consideration.
Do we want to maybe ask if anybody has a moment for the next meeting to give us an idea as to what happened there? How's that for getting a report for next meeting? Because I need to look into a few of the details. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I'd support that if staff's okay with that. Just a short report. Thank you, Don, for bringing that up. Anybody else? I think we talked about it a little bit at the Friday ribbon cutting. There was a bit of a buzz about that. So, yeah.
And I am meeting with Scott Chansey, the general manager, next week on Monday to talk about not only this situation, because one of the things immediately I received a text message from them letting us know that this was happening. And we immediately returned information to them saying, do you need buses? Because we have spares, we will help you. Because they lost one in the fire, and that's his second one to burn up. And he had to pull 3 more out of service. So he was sitting down 4 buses because of it. And so I will definitely give you a report on what he has to say. The one thing I do want to say about the buses that he's using, they are refurbished buses that were originally diesel buses that were made into electric buses. And I don't know, every time, I always look at that as you have to be really careful with components when you're doing something like that. And this company that had these buses actually are having problems with this. So I'll give you more details after I meet with him, but I just want to let you know that RVTD reached out immediately to them, let them know that we're a partner and we'd help them out if they needed help with our spares.
Thanks, Don. Did you have something, Denise?
Yeah, I just have a question. You know, every time I look at this report, I have this question. So I'm finally,
She's got the ridership report.
yeah, the ridership report. You know, Route 61, I know we decreased the service frequency on that, and it's consistently like year-to-date change is negative 66.1%, which is pretty significant. I just wondered if decreasing the frequency is just reflecting that, or is that need still being met there?
So Paige, I don't know if you want to jump on, if you're there.
I am here and I'm trying to open the ridership report.
So looking at, I mean, yes, we did decrease the frequency because we looked at where people were getting on and off that route. And it was because most of them were getting on and off the route at another, they were using part of that route, but were never leaving Medford. And so that's where you saw that decrease in ridership. It actually increased the ridership on, I believe it's the route
21.
21, thank you.
So we're not hearing that there's need that's being unmet there because it's shifted to another route.
Part of the ridership did shift to the Route 21 that was in Medford because the Route 21 goes north to the Fred Meyer, turns around on Poplar and comes right back. The 61 did that same footprint, but it also continued to the airport and then up to Table Rock campus before coming back. And we found that the majority, I believe it was somewhere around 65% of trips on that Route 61 were happening on the same footprint as the Route 21. Which basically means we've increased service on the Route 21. We added, it's now at 20-minute service. It's the only other route besides Route 10 that has 20-minute service in Medford in our system. And you can see it has, if you look at the year-to-date change on the very far right column, 126.9% increase on the Route 21. So that means that the riders who are using the 61 in that area have simply moved over to this other route because it's more frequent and more convenient. The Route 61 has decreased because it is lost that ridership and it's going over to the Route 21. Before we made the decision to reduce the Route 61, we did outreach to RCC students. We rode the route itself, asked, how are you using this? Where are you going to? Where are you coming from? How often do you use this route? We did certainly hear from the people who were using it that they wanted us to continue the service. They didn't want us to just completely remove the route. But, I think the bigger picture for us was that it was the most expensive route in our system. When you looked at the cost of the service hour per passenger across our entire system, even more expensive than Jacksonville, which is that's hard to do. So I think that's part of what we need to look at too, is where did those riders come from? And they moved over to the 21. November and December are really difficult months to look at for ridership though, generally, because we've got 2 holidays. We've got schools out for a pretty significant amount of time. And so looking at the monthly change, which is that third column over, is not what you want to do during this month, because it is looking at the month prior and the current month, November and December. October is actually one of the best months to look at ridership because you have no holidays and school and work are drumming along, pretty consistently. So when I look at November and December, I go to the year to date because that puts it a little bit more into picture of what's happening.
I think this is going to also be a challenge for us over the years because RCC is so far out. Their campus is so far out there. And of course, they only meet a portion of the year. And one of the things that we'll be working with them over the time is if they start increasing, because they've talked about moving their campus completely out there and not being downtown. And if something like that happened, we would have to look at the frequency for sure on the 21, because that's when you are going to have to provide that higher level of service and you'll probably get the higher ridership because everybody's going to be out at that campus. But right now with the split campus, it makes it a little difficult. The good thing is that RCC has continued to partner with us and to provide the students with low bus and, low-cost bus passes because they pay for a portion of it. And I hope that they continue doing that because if we lost that piece of it, I'm not sure we would see the ridership. The only other thing that's going to drive that up is gas prices. So gas goes up to a certain level, students aren't going to drive all the way out to that campus.
All right, thank you. More to come on that, but thanks for raising that. I will report that the MPO did not meet, and in fact, it's supposed to meet next week, but it's canceled, so there won't be a report on that. Tradco, did Tradco meet?
Yes,
All
Tradco,
right.
Tradco finally had a meeting.
Okay. It's been a while.
I missed the first 15 minutes because I was trying to handle it on Zoom,
Ah,
and Zoom wasn't cooperating. So I'm going to pass to Julie if there was anything in that first 15 minutes that I missed.
Really, it was just updates a lot on the different projects that were going on along with the foothills and talking about the various projects, paving projects, et cetera. One thing, they're a little bit upset right now because of the governor's executive order on looking at PLAs and contractors and making sure that all contracts in the state of Oregon that are the state's contracts for building roads, et cetera, are now going to have a union contract with it. So that took up most of their discussion time. We didn't really come up a whole lot as far as RVTD, other than we invited him to the ribbon cutting, and many of them came. But they're also concerned about the transportation bill and where it's going to fall. And so they're very supportive of RVTD, have been, and, but we weren't the main topic of conversation that day.
The one thing that dominated the discussion toward the end was the issue of the governor's position on labor. And I was fascinated by the fact that somebody said that 75% of contractors in Oregon are non-union. And the governor is proposing to say, hey, everything has to be union wages. If it's a state or federal funded project. I just found that fascinating.
So they're only looking at state at this point, but the federal government is also looking at this. So more to come.
Yeah.
all right, well, thank you. Janice, I think, had to leave us as far as our RV Act report. I was there representing the Rogue Valley Metropolitan Planning Organization. I'm trying to pull up the agenda now, but I will, just to refresh my recollection, but I will say that we often have presentations, and we had some really good presentations from ODOT staff like we normally do. One of the interesting things that was up for just discussion this time, but will be a decisional item, which is rare. We don't do a lot of decision making at the act, but apparently there is and I don't believe you were there at the meeting, Julie.
No.
There is a directive from the OTC to go back to a project prioritization effort. And And so we are convening a subcommittee to do that. And that subcommittee will also be hammering out sort of a process. What should the criteria be? And we're looking forward to our chair, Mike Montero, also providing some information about how that process used to operate back in the day. And so as the representative of the MPO, I'm a little, and I raised the concern that I hate for the process to somehow take away from the work that we do regionally at the MPO regarding those discretionary funds. Right now, they're just CMAQ funds, but we've worked really hard at the MPO to often develop criteria for the STBG funds and the CMAQ funds. And I'm hoping that this will just be a complementary kind of exercise and not conflict in any way with what we do at the MPO. So we'll see, more to come. I look forward to reporting on that, or at least Jenna will. So.
And I don't think that's where the commission's going with
Good.
it. I think that the prioritizing is really set up because funds are so tight. We're going to have to make decisions on what we're going to do regionally in each region to be able to maybe even only deliver one project. And that is tough. That's a tough thing to swallow. But if the funding isn't there, how do you, as a region, what we're trying to encourage them to do is really figure out and work together, because fortunately, our region works well together, but it isn't true across the state. And so I know that at the commission meeting, when I met with the ACT chairs, the vice chair and I did, the marching order was, you guys need to figure this out. You better figure out one project and hopefully we can fund it. So that is how tight the funds are right now.
Yeah. So, and that was the question, one of the questions is whether we're really just looking at ODOT projects or whether we're looking at all the little jurisdictional projects.
I think you're looking at not only ODOT, but jurisdictional. So the money flows through too to the jurisdiction. So there's that piece of it. And it's like, what are we going to do? And I think we've gone through that process at the RV Act before, when there was a lot of money, not a lot, but there was enough money that we were able to take, like, let's say there was an ODOT project, it was the #1 project, but we were able to actually bring in some smaller projects under that from the jurisdictions that it made sense to fund them to be able to complete that great street kind of look of bike ped all the way down to road. So, we'll
Well, I'm
see.
going to see if Paige has anything to add, but I will say this, that the solicitation for the CMAQ funds is coming up. I think they're looking for applications to be submitted March, April, and looking forward to learning what Medford will be submitting. But there is a big pot of money this year. So I think there's some of us that are discussing whether we can do a similar thing, is like figure out some way of managing a project or asking ODOT to that gets a lot of work done regionally, but we'll see. We also have an extra opportunity for RVTD because the law has changed in regard to what CMAQ projects qualify. So we'll be checking in with Paige to find out what you guys are coming up with as far as what we might propose. But did you want to add anything about RV Act or anything I just mentioned, Paige?
We met actually today to get briefed on what the CMAQ eligibility is allowing now. And I think we're planning on having another round of meetings internally with staff to identify what our opportunities are. The applications for the RVMPO solicitation are due in May.
Okay.
So we'll be needing to make a decision and try to figure out what our strategy is before then. With the RV Act, the subcommittee to select priority projects is what they're calling it. And they're going to be meeting on March 11th, and that's going to take place of their regular RV Act meeting. And they basically did a call for volunteers that are RV Act members, not general community, just RV Act members, to participate in that committee. I assumed we wanted to have a representative there to participate and make sure that if there's a transit project that's being considered, that we could speak to that. But they're looking at essentially a 10-year horizon, starting in 2027, so 2027 to 2037. And it's not funded. They're not projects that are financially constrained, but they do want to put together a list that RV Act can sort of, bless and say if there are funds in the future, that this would be their go-to list. So I think it's important that we identify. I will attend at least as a just to watch. But Tanya and Jenna potentially could throw their name in the hat to actually be there as participants.
Yeah, I've asked to participate on behalf of the MPO, so.
Great.
Hopefully, and I just, yeah, I'm glad you're gonna planning on being there. You should probably, I don't know what Jenna's availability is, but it might be good for you to go ahead and sign up for that.
Okay,
Even-
I can reach out to her too
Yeah,
and see if she's
good
planning
idea.
on going.
Yeah.
Should
Sure.
we as a board be thinking about projects that we may want to put on this list? Or
For the
do-
CMAC?
Do we have projects identified in our master plan already that would make sense to put on the list?
We wanna-
The
we-
RV Act list is the one I was thinking.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Don't know. I'm not sure what the.
So the other thing too is one of the things we talked about today is I want to get some clarity on the money that is sitting there in that pot, the large pot. What is the timeline on that money? Because we know it's been
Sitting there for a while.
sitting there and it's many years. And so there is deadlines on each one of those. And so finding out what exactly has to be spent in which year will be helpful in us trying to make decision on what to do for RVTD. And there are changes in the laws, and we sat down internally and talked about what does that mean? And we want to also get an opinion on it to make sure.
Okay.
So we don't spend a lot of time doing a lot of work and then find out, oh no, that isn't the way the law was intended to be. Even though we've asked the question, I'm not satisfied yet.
Oh, okay. So I hear you. I mean, maybe we can get in on your secret meeting sometime soon.
Absolutely. Well, it isn't a secret meeting.
I'm just kidding.
It's just a meeting where we're looking at
Yeah.
if we could use it for operations, how, because one thing you have to remember about RVTD is everything has a match rate to it.
Yeah.
Everything, there's a method to the madness when you're looking at funding of being able to flex it. So if we flex funds that and certain funds to preventive maintenance, the match rate is a lot lower than if you do to the operations of a route. So there's different things that we're doing that, looking at that trade-off and what that number would be. So that was our secret meeting.
And just as I'm thinking about it, it might be important to know what the outcome of the transportation bill is before we put, if we were going to put like Highway 99 high capacity transit or something on a list. We want to be sure we could fund the ongoing operations of that.
And unfortunately, one of the things is the solicitation is before we're going to know if that's a possibility. So there are things that, we may have to wait on. So we may not even have a project. It may be something else of
Sure.
regional significance. So,
Well, if that's the case, somebody's got to do it, though, got to manage it. And that's going to be a difficulty because the smaller jurisdictions aren't really capable and the bigger jurisdictions may not be interested. So,
do we have to do everything?
yeah, we do. Okay.
Sorry, I don't have a poker face. That was probably an ugly face.
All right. Well, thank you all. I don't know if there's any more reports, but I appreciate the meeting tonight. It's always it's fun to
Can I
catch up. Yeah,
go
go ahead.
back to other business
sure.
that I didn't bring up? Or, well, so the discussion about RCC and the Route 61, it's something that has bothered me for a while, just the whole RVTD moving their campus away from our core transit center where we have great transit service. And I'm wondering, I know staff's talking to them and I guess from staff's perspective, would it be worthwhile for board members to reach out to some of their board to discuss the problem that decision to move your campus can create or some of the
So-
issues associated with?
Sure. I think it's twofold. One is finances for them. So they're just looking at consolidating. And, it costs more when you have multiple campuses, so you're doing all this. Enrollment is the second thing, but I think the third thing that they were concerned about was downtown. And I can report to you that since all of us have moved to the same contractor, it has really cleaned the downtown up. And it has really helped people feel safer. There's not as many instances of things happening that were happening before. So we were able to sit down with the library, with RCC, and with RVTD and actually work those things out. Is it perfect? No, it won't be perfect till drugs aren't an issue in our downtown. Homelessness is an issue. As we were able to make people healthy, I think we'll see a change in behavior. But I can say that it seems, to me, I have no fear to walk downtown now in this area, in our 3 campuses. It really is nice. And, so it never hurts to reach out to their board members and to talk to them and see how they're feeling, because they may be getting something else from their students and teachers. I don't know. But I can tell you that the meetings that we've had in the past, seems like things are a lot better with this. And I thank the city of Medford because they hosted that. They made all of us come to the table and talk together.
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, without objection, we're adjourned. Thank you all.
Thanks.
I know you don't have a crystal ball, but it is.
Good night.